Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. And before we get into today's rumors and nudes, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, Manscaped. If you haven't already, go to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. They make a great holiday gift, and if she likes getting her stocking stuff, there you go. Get set up with Manscaped. So coming up here, we're going to talk about Derek Carr. We're going to talk about some trending stories around that because Bleacher Report and ESPN had some things to say. And here's the first story. This will be Derek Carr's final season with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to give this one 3 just win babies, and I do believe that it's pretty likely. If you are just joining the show for the very first time, if I give something 3 just win babies, it means I believe it's a 75% chance of it happening. So Bleacher Report released a story titled, "The Toughest 2023 Offseason Decisions Facing NFL Teams After Week 11. Their question, their topic was, what comes next for Carr in Las Vegas? Bleacher Report believes that Carr is going to be the scapegoat. This has been a topic that we have discussed numerous times on this show, simply by saying if the Raiders aren't winning games, and if Mark Davis is committing to Josh McDaniels and Ziegler are going to be like, well, it's not our problem. We didn't get to pick our quarterback. They're going to make Carr the scapegoat, which is one of the reasons why I believe you saw all the emotions that you did after the Raiders lost to the Indianapolis Colts just a week ago. So here's what Bleacher Report had to say on the whole Derek Carr saga. It's been a disappointing season for the Las Vegas Raiders, who were widely expected to be contenders after making the 2021 postseason and acquiring Davante Adams and Chandler Jones in the offseason. Despite getting a win over the Denver Broncos on Sunday, Las Vegas has stumbled to a 3-7 record, and someone is going to take the blame. With Raiders franchise owner Mark Davis supporting first-year head coach Josh McDaniels, quarterback Derek Carr could become the scapegoat, which I 100% agree with. The moment that Mark Davis said all the things that he did by saying that the Raiders are doing a fantastic job, Dave Ziegler saying the Raiders were 2-5 and they thought McDaniels was doing great, you knew that they were going to try to make Carr the scapegoat. Here's my question to you, and it's right now the live poll as well if you're watching on the live show. Will Derek Carr be on the Raiders next season? Y for yes and N for no. I'm actually going to make this the pinned comment on today's video, so when you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down. You're going to be down there for a few seconds anyway, and answer this one for me, please. Y for yes, N for no. Will Derek Carr be on the Raiders next season? My answer is no. The only way that I'm going to say yes is if DC takes a major contract reduction, I guess. He is scheduled to make like $32.9 million in base salary. That's not going to happen if I'm the Raiders and I'm McDaniels, seeing how DC and how this team has played. Then the fact that Mark Davis has already picked McDaniels over Carr, that tells you almost everything that you need to know right there. For me, the only way Carr returns is if you win at least 8 games this season, because you were 2-7 at one point. If you can show that much improvement, and if DC can really get this offense clicking, you get to 8 games, you show that the front office, okay, Derek's making strides, he can learn this offense, but not only just learning the offense, I still think that there's a possibility that the Raiders bring in a young quarterback to learn underneath Derek Carr then. There's a lot of different scenarios, but as it stands right now, if the Raiders do not win games, if DC does not improve, I just don't understand why McDaniels would keep around DC. It's not that I don't like Carr, but McDaniels is going to pick himself, and I do think that they could make them the scapegoat. And I mean, let's face it, the Rams might be the easiest game out of your next 3, and then your final 4 games, the Patriots defense looks legit. The Steelers, that's your easiest opponent. 49ers, not going to be easy. The Chiefs, maybe they decide to rest their starters. I don't exactly know. All I know is this. As it stands right now, the Raiders will not keep Derek Carr, in my personal opinion. So seeing all those stats, seeing the schedule, how many games will the Raiders win this season? It's time to look into your crystal balls real quick and let me and the nation know, how many games will the Raiders win this upcoming season? My crystal balls are telling me somewhere around 6. That's my prediction. Yes, right now you're 3-7. I hope they win out. I hope they go to 10-7. But I got to base it off of what I've seen this entire season. And beating the Broncos twice and the Texans once, really isn't anything to get too crazy about. Something that you should get crazy about, Manscaped products. And if you haven't gotten your hands on the Lawnmower 4.0, you got to make sure that you do it. Guys, it's important to make sure that your Christmas tree is actually trimmed up during the holidays. If Santa Claus wants to jingle all the way downtown, and if you saw mommy kissing Santa Claus, it's probably because he's using the Lawnmower 4.0. Use promo code Raiders at Manscaped.com. That's going to get you 20% off and free shipping. I don't want Santa to be the only one slaying this holiday season. Jeremy Chuggs, he's going to have 8 crazy nights. You know why? Because of Lawnmower 4.0. So use code Raiders at Manscaped.com. It's the best male grooming tool to make sure that your tool is working A-OK. You can use this bad boy in the shower. It's got a light at the end of it. It doesn't vibrate in your hand. And you can see when it's about to die on you. Because if it dies on you and you got half the tree trimmed, it's going to look a little bit lopsided, which I don't want to happen. So Manscaped.com. Code Raiders for 20% off. So, again, we're talking about Derek Carr's potential final season here, right? That's the main discussion point. It's going to be probably the top talking point for majority of the offseason, whether it's fair or not. Here's the issue, though. The media heads, they talk about the quarterback position, which then me doing my job, I got to talk about the quarterback position. So ESPN's Dan Graziano also chimed in on the whole what happens next with Derek Carr, what's next for him in the offseason, and he said this. What's really interesting is the likelihood that quarterback Derek Carr, not McDaniels, takes the fall for this. Remember the contract extension Carr signed last offseason? Yeah, well, it really wasn't. Carr has no guaranteed money left on his deal after the season, and because the Raiders don't like to put signing bonuses in their deals, Carr got a small signing bonus of $7.5 million. He did get only $7.5 million in terms of guaranteed money next season, right? Like, he did not get all that much. And as it stands right now, Derek Carr's got 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,435 yards. When you look at those numbers from a 2020 pace, right? 17-game pace, you're sitting here at 62.4% completion percentage, 4,140 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. If the Raiders were a playoff caliber team, these would be okay numbers. The issue is you're 3-7 and this is your pace. That simply can't happen. But you know what? I told myself I'm going to be more glass half full guy, and over the past 3 games, to me, Carr has shown some improvements. Sure, the completion percentage is a little bit lower, but you know what? I don't really care all that much. 814 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The Raiders right now are number 1 in the NFL in giveaways. They've only turned over the football 7 times. 3 of those came in week 1. Derek is slowly making strides in Josh McDaniels' offense, and you saw that this past week when the Raiders were finally able to win a 1-score game. So looking at Carr, whether you think it's fair or not that he's going to be the main talking point, when you're paid the amount of money that he is, when you're made the quarterback, you are always in the spotlight. So grade Derek Carr's performance this year and be real with me, because I always try to be real with y'all. A, B, C, D, or F. How would you grade Derek Carr's performance this season? I'm probably going to be somewhere around a C, C+. Have they dealt with injuries? Yes. Has the offensive line struggled at times? No doubt about it. Carr can be better, and I'm hoping that he will be better. Coming up here now, more Raiders news and rumors, and since we're talking about D.C., well, the other part of that conversation, Bleacher Report and ESPN, was the possibility of drafting a quarterback in round 1 in 2023. As it stands right now, my gut feeling is this. It is only one just win, baby, a 25% chance that the Raiders take a quarterback in round 1. And the only reason why I'm going to give it only one just win, baby, is because I don't think somebody like C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young fall to the Raiders if, let's just say, they're somewhere around the number 4 overall pick. I don't see either of those quarterbacks falling to number 4. On top of that, I don't really think that I believe that the Raiders try to trade up and get into that area. So if the season were to end today, this is what the 2023 NFL draft order would be. Texans at 1, Panthers 2, Bears 3, Raiders 4, and the reason why the Raiders are still, I guess, have the higher draft pick over the Broncos, which technically is It's Seattle's pick, but this was a part of the Russell Wilson trade. It's schedule difficulty, strength of schedule, which still belongs to the Raiders. So I'm sorry, I don't see Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud falling down to number 4 because the Panthers, I would almost guarantee you, take a quarterback, and there's going to be another team that might actually try to jump up. Hell, the Texans might try to take a quarterback. This is what Bleacher Report had to say on potentially taking a QB in the draft. Carr has been an above-average quarterback during his tenure with the Raiders, but he wasn't selected by the current regime. The draft could give McDaniels and general manager Dave Ziegler a chance to get, in quotes, their guy. A prospect like Stroud or Young could have a higher upside than Carr, but he will also be entirely unproved at the pro level. Could the Raiders keep Carr and draft a quarterback to develop behind him? Absolutely. But the San Francisco situation shows that an easy transition isn't guaranteed. My take is I don't think McDaniels wants Carr to develop a quarterback. To me, if the Raiders are going to try to go this route where you're going to get a QB to develop a guy that you draft, the two names to watch, and I've been saying it for weeks, months realistically, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, both quarterbacks that have worked well in McDaniels' system. And let's face it, I would rather have Tom Brady groom my next quarterback than Derek Carr. And maybe if DC decides to take a super cheap deal, then that's a totally different conversation, but we'll see. Also, I'll say this. I do think that C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young have higher upsides than DC. You have to look at the talent, right? Carr is a good quarterback, and I'm not saying that he's not a good quarterback, but when you watch some of these other guys, like you watch Justin Herbert throw the football, Carr's not even close. You watch a Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying you're going to find a Patrick Mahomes, but you know what? If you're going to draft a QB in the top 5, you're hoping to find a Justin Herbert. You're hoping to find a Patrick Mahomes. And if you can stumble on one of those dudes, that totally changes your team. Now, you could end up like the Jets and never be able to find any talent whatsoever. So to me, I can understand the idea of moving on from Derek Carr because I don't think you have anything to lose. And a lot of people are like, well, Mitch, the Raiders quarterbacks were bad for a long time. You lose Derek Carr. We could go back to that area. Then so be it. Derek Carr, whether it's his fault or not, the Raiders have never won a playoff game. You've never won a Super Bowl. And in the NFL, that's what it's about. So if you've never won any of those things, I believe that you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Plus, you're going to gain $110.68 million. That's why I can confidently sit up here and say I really do not believe that Derek Carr is going to be back next season. Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, not in the regime, and he hasn't played all that well this season to deserve to come back considering how much you can get out of from his contract. All right, y'all, Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and my favorite thing to eat for Thanksgiving, you ready? Pumpkin pie. Freaking love it. Get some Cool Whip on that bad boy. I love pumpkin roll. Now, maybe if I had to choose between other apple pies, pecan pies, we can get into that. But before the show started, I asked Jeremy, rate it, 1 to 10 pumpkin pie. He looked at me, he said 8. And I agree. I'm also going to give this an 8. What would you give pumpkin pie? Because I always see it's very split. I'm going to be looking because this one, very important to me. Final question here on the Raiders Report, or topic, if you will. Davante Adams, the GOAT among Raiders wide receivers. This one's going to give me some flack, and I already know that. I'm going to give it 4 just win, babies. And what I'm going to say here is this. I believe if Davante Adams plays the next 5 years with the silver and black, people will regard him as the greatest Raiders wide receiver of all time, which is saying a lot. He won't have the insane numbers that a Tim Brown has, but when I think of just overall talent, and I think of overall at their peaks, and you guys, please feel free to disagree with me if you want, because I wasn't alive to watch a lot of those other great Raiders players, right? But to me, this reminds me a lot of the Bo Jackson, Marcus Allen discussion. Marcus Allen is probably the greatest Raiders running back of all time because of his longevity, but be real with me, at their peaks, at the absolute high, would you rather have a Bo Jackson or would you rather have a Marcus Allen? To me, Davante Adams is right now the Raiders' Bo Jackson, and Tim Brown was the Marcus Allen. All incredibly great, but you got to look at the numbers because this season, Davante's on a tear. He's got 64 grabs, 10 touchdowns, 925 yards. Then you look at the Raiders' single-season records. The target, 1997 by Tim Brown, 162. Darren Waller, 107 catches back in 2020. Tim Brown, 1,408 receiving yards back in 1997. Touchdowns, Art Powell, 16 in 1963. I look for a picture for Art Powell. Wasn't the easiest. I know, hard to believe. So here's the thing, though. When you look at the Raiders' single-season records, and then you look at Davante Adams' 2022 pace, he's on pace right now to break the targets record with 190. On pace to break the receptions record, 109. Yards record, 1,573. Touchdown record, 17. What's most frustrating to me about these numbers is this. Davante's having an incredible year, and yet the Raiders are 3-7. Personally, I'm the type of dude that's, you could take a lot of these numbers and you can shove them up wherever the hell you want, because if you're not winning games, doesn't really matter. I don't know, but I do know this. When I watch Davante on the field, he's the best guy out there. There's nobody in the NFL that I believe one-on-one can match up with him, and he knows it. The Raiders know it. So can we get him even more targets despite him leading the NFL with 120 right now? So here's my question. The best single season by a Raiders wide receiver from Davante Adams. Is he going to accomplish that this season? If you believe at the end of the year this is going to be the greatest year ever by a Raiders wide receiver, type G for greatest. If you don't, then you can type NG for not the greatest. All I want you to do is consider wins, losses, seasons, 16 games, the 17 games, different eras of football. All of that deserves to be in this conversation. Before I leave y'all today, hey, we got some news here. The Las Vegas Raiders, they worked out Calvin Turner Jr. He played 2 seasons at Hawaii. He's a wide receiver / he also played a little bit of running back for the Rainbows. Is that right? The Rainbow Warriors. I always forget. It's like the Warriors, Rainbow Warriors, one of the two. Here's the thing, though. The reason why I believe that they brought him in, special teams ability. You know that this coaching staff loves special teams ability, and I was told by a source that they could potentially look at other options as a punt returner because Keelan Cole has been, well, not so great whatsoever. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications, because if you miss anything going on around the silver and black, it's on you. It's not on me, because we're going to have videos here every single day.